I'm here with Debra G. She is a singer, a songwriter, and a vocal coach in the Twin Cities. She's toured with Nicholas David, opening for the Avett Brothers, and has performed overseas for the Air Force in Qatar. She's also a longtime mentor for young musicians through the nonprofit She Rock, which is dedicated to empowering girls, women, trans and non-binary folks through music.
Oh, thanks for having me, Ben. I'm excited to be here.
We were just chatting earlier about, this whole online teaching routine.
It's been fun. It's been a definite change, though. I mean, I'm not used to sitting this much. And so, you don't realize how much you're sitting until you start to feel a lot of aches and pains, and you start to realize, wow, I'm 41, and I feel like I'm way older than that right now just because I've been sitting for, 5 months, 6 months straight. So you have to kind of change your routine a little bit to get some exercise and get your body moving, because that's important to take care of yourself during this time.
But it must be especially true if you're teaching vocals, right?
I have maybe 5 to 7 vocal students. The rest of them are all piano or guitar or ukulele. So whenever I do vocals, I'm always standing. But whenever I do the other instruments, I'm always sitting. So out of the 30 some students that I have, I'm only standing for 5 of them, and then the rest of them I'm all sitting. So it's tough. I have to remind myself, I can put a strap on with my guitar and I can play it standing up. I don't have to sit, There's other ways to move your body, and a lot of times I'm just like, you know what? Stand up, we're having a dance party. Right now, I'm playing this song, we're gonna dance, and then we'll come back and work. I'm just we gotta move. You can just see the kiddos are just screamed. I'm so over it,
You've posted some really fun videos, either your students performing in a little virtual recital or songs they've been working on, and it sounds like clearly from what you've posted they're really enjoying it.
Yeah, and I've been really impressed. I guess when everybody's stuck at home, you have more time to practice for sure, but I've just been really impressed that my students continue to grow as musicians. And that they're putting in just as much work, if not more work, into being a stronger and better musician, which is really, really cool to watch, because my age range is from 5 to 65 right now, and every single one has improved a lot in the last 6 months, which is really beautiful to see.
So what were kind of the early phases like when the pandemic first hit Minnesota, and were you already teaching some online lessons before that, or?
I had considered it, but I had never tried it before, and I remember the first week very, very well. I remember I felt like a truck hit me. I was so exhausted emotionally and so exhausted physically, because it just was a whole new level of work. But once I got into the groove, I started to actually, my cat will probably be a part of this interview a couple of times, just so you know.
That's great. That's a benefit.
I know, he'll probably jump up and be like, hello.
Hello.
But once I got used to it, I kind of started to like them a lot. I missed seeing them in person, but I felt like I had more time to take care of myself. Speaking of, yes, I didn't move very much, but I was making meals. I wasn't buying them and taking them into the studio, and I was able to just kind of sit down in my own space in between lessons if I had some time. So it just felt a lot less heavy to go back to back to back to back to back, because I could take 3 minutes by myself and not worry about having to just go right into the next student. So taking care of myself made those lessons even stronger for my students, because I was able to be more with them versus I'm so tired. I'm just I want to go to bed, So, but at first it was really tough, but then I got in the groove and I love it. I love it.
Have you gained any insight into kind of workarounds or solutions to the problem of playing music live over an internet connection?
Yeah, through She Rock, we used to do live jams with our, we'd have a professional band, and then you could come, and if you learned a song from our jam list, you could come and jam out with us. Well, we wanted to make sure that we kept the connection there, but we obviously can't do like a live jam session. But we just started like an every 2 week online 2 hour open mic, and we've had up to 30 performers at each one, and it's been awesome. And people have been able to either sing karaoke, sing their own songs. So it's just like been beautiful to see people in their homes and all the support, because it's just such a verbally supportive group where everyone's like, "You rock! Oh my gosh, your voice! Oh my gosh, you play so well! Like, I love this song. When is it gonna be on Spotify?" All that stuff. So it's just really, at least there's that. It's hard not being able to perform in person, but it's wonderful to see that people are making things work to still have a live performance.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
So how did the She-Rock rock and roll retreat go this summer?
So we had 4 weeks. Each week is a different group of campers. We worked for about 4 months prior we started, not knowing if we were actually going to do the online virtual camp, but we wanted to be as prepared for it as possible. And I gotta tell you, well, the first day was really tough, just working out the kinks. But after that first day, I can't believe how amazing the camp went. It was smooth. All the different Zoom links that we had to go to, and all the different campers that we had to keep keep tallies on to make sure that they were present, or it just, and the music they wrote at the end was just so powerful and amazing. And it kind of like after each week, you just like, I can't believe we did this. I can't believe we made this happen. I can't believe this is now another possibility, that even when we get back to seeing each other in person, we can also do this as another option for a different kind of camp. It was so good, and it didn't lose the heart of what our camp is about, which was really important to us. So yeah, Girls Rock and Roll Retreat Studio Edition was such a hit. It was a super big, awesome experience for everybody. We always had thank yous at the end on Friday, and we would just be just crying. Everybody just like, "Oh my gosh, this is so great. Oh, why can't we just, Oh, it was awesome. Yeah.
That's fantastic. How long have you been working with She-Rock?
The same year that She-Rock started, the organization, I also started a Festival of Sisters called She-Rock, the Festival of Sisters. And then they started She-Rock, She-Rock. We didn't know each other. We didn't even know that each other was doing this. And then I think it was 2 years later, they contacted this other school that I was working at, teaching lessons at, and said that they were looking for a vocal coach. And so he connected me with that, and then I started there, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, when did you start?" She's like, "Oh, we started 2 years ago." I was like, "That's when I started my Festival of the Sisters, She-Rock." And it was just really weird and ironic that we had the same name, and we just didn't even know that each other existed.
So when you started with She-Rock, were you doing private lessons? Were you coaching bands?
Yeah, so I was in charge of all the vocalists, and then also we had every single instrument kiddo that took instruments. They also had to take voice lessons, and I just turned it into, because it's hard to teach voice lessons to 10 to 20 campers all in one room that are from the ages of 8 to 16, because there's not much that you can teach with voice that like an 8-year-old needs to hear, but not a 16-year-old, or vice versa. And you don't want to make it too simple, and you don't want to make it too hard. So long story short, I just decided to make vocal class about confidence and stage presence, and how to own your space, own your stage, and own your voice on that stage. So owning that power that you have with your voice, and really encouraging people to sing out and get really gritty with their facial expressions and kick their legs and as the lead vocalist or anybody that's got an instrument, you like your energy on stage is what captivates the audience. So I kind of turned it into that. So we would do a lot of, I would play these cover songs that we would have that we would all be learning on our instruments, and we would have just big dance singing parties in that room where everybody had to dance the same way and get in each other's faces and sing as loud as we could, and just trying to get everyone to feel really confident with their voice.
Did you take away any experiences from kind of the bands that you've played in over the years and the tour that you did with Nicholas David? Was there any one experience doing all of those shows that kind of translated into like, here's how you have to own the stage, or here's how here's a good model for collaborating? Or
not so much with those bands, but when I was in Copacetic and I was the lead vocalist for that band, we were like super progressive funk proggy rock, like just I don't even know how to explain it. Like people would be like, you're like Tool meets Prince meets Stevie Wonder meets Aretha and Janice and Evanescence. It was just like they couldn't put it all together, but it was just like this. And through that band, there's just lots of jamming going on, lots of opportunities to dance and really get all over the stage. And I think that was the first time that I, for the first time, put my guitar down and didn't have that as a crutch, because I always had that as a crutch, where I was like, I was so used to playing my guitar and singing my own songs and stuff. And then when I got in this band, I had to put that down, and I was like, I don't know what these things do. I don't know what this is. Like, what do I do with my arms? And I decided, you know what, you go big or you go home kind of mentality. So I went all out. I got all, I just used every muscle I could every time I was on stage for Copacetic, and I realized how captivating it was, not only for the audience, but for me. Like by the end, I would almost be shaking from the emotional and adrenaline release that I would be giving. So I just decided that that's kind of who I am. I love owning that stage, and I love getting people to feel confident with their bodies, because we need to feel more confident with our bodies, no matter what shape, size, or anything we are, And so and I also noticed that when I started doing that, I gained more confidence in myself. I started to not care so much about the fact that I didn't have this, or I didn't look like this, or whatever. I just was all of a sudden like, I feel great. This is me, So I wanted to be able to give that energy off to everybody else, and hopefully encourage those who learn the same way as me, maybe, that they can do that too.
Such a cool kind of takeaway, because I couldn't think of a more vulnerable role to have on stage than to being a vocalist with no, not accompanying yourself on guitar or anything, like just singing in front of a crowd of people. It seems like that's about as exposed an instrument as you could be in a concert.
Yeah, well, and I grew up singing opera, and you don't move when you sing. You're just very calmly tall. You kind of move your hands, but you really don't. You're not supposed to lose your posture. You're not supposed to lean forward and get in music. You have to be very like this the whole time. So even then, that was like what I learned. Like you just keep and it's like, that's not rock and roll. That is not, funk music. That's not getting out there and engaging yourself so much that the audience is like, what? I'm losing my mind because I want to dance now because she's losing her mind. Mm-hmm. And so it was such a different experience, but it really helped me to open up my own self for myself, to feel more confident and just let myself go. And I love it.
Sounds like you have a lot of students who are also songwriters and are writing music and lyrics of their own.
Yes, I do. One in particular she just turned 9, and I cannot believe her songwriting is like some of the best songwriting I've ever heard in my life. And she puts her soul into it. She's got this big voice that's too big for her, her age, and she can play piano, and I'm just like, that was the best chorus I've ever heard. Like, where is this coming from? You know, and she's got at least 25 songs right now that she's written. And I'm trying to be like, we got to learn Soundtrap. We got to learn GarageBand. You need to be recording these. Like, I can't do this in person with you. So, because they're so good. They're so good. I just can't even believe that she's 9 years old. I'm like, we need to get you on America's Got Talent if you want to, but you don't have to. But we got to get somehow get an album out there, you know? Get your music out there, because she just every week it's like, I wrote 2 more songs, and I'm like, what about the last 25? What are we gonna do with all these songs? You know, it's just really brilliant, and I want to encourage her to write, because the more she writes, the longer the songs get. Like when she first started writing, they were maybe 30 seconds long, but they were really like, wow, this is really good for 30 seconds. Now they're turning into 3-minute songs, and they've got a verse, chorus, bridge, and double chorus without her even realizing that's what she's doing. So anyway, yeah, it's really powerful to see young people like that be so inspired and believe in their gift. Wow. Especially at 9 years old like that. I didn't start till I was like 13, so it's just really cool.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And you probably don't at that age necessarily think about how significant or special it is that you're like just coming up with all this original material that you're just creating all the time, because as an adult you want to say like, no, go home and record that, because it's make sure you're recording everything that you come up with so you don't forget it. Well,
that's what we do in these online lessons. I got a new song. I'm like, hold on, get my phone out. I'm like, just so that I know, in case we come back to it, you're like, I don't remember what this sounds like. You're gonna be like, let's go through your archive of 4,000 songs and find it. It's great, though.
That's awesome. There's another organization that I was going to ask you about that you've worked with too, Youth Frontiers.
So when I first moved to Minneapolis, I'll kind of give you the backstory of how I got hired there and then from there. But once I graduated from college, I just packed my car and I drove up here. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a place to live. I just put my guitar in my car and some clothes and drove up here. And then from there, within a week or two, I found a place, I found a job, and then I started going to every open mic I could find. And I was at the Chatterbox on a Tuesday, and at the end of my 3-song set or whatever, this guy comes up to me and he says, hey, do you like kids? And I was like, well, of course I like kids. I don't have a whole lot of experience working with them, but I have a little bit. And he's like, well, I work for this organization called Youth Frontiers, and we're at first they like explained it as we're like a theater character job that incorporates music in a day-long program on kindness, courage, respect. And I was like, okay. So I went and I went for the interview, and it was such a unique interview because it was more like an audition. You had to go around and like talk to different people, and then like they'd ask you one silly, like, if you could be any animal, what would you be? It's like really kind of silly. And then they had us like do dancing and like kind of lip syncing, create your own kind of, I don't know. It was the most interesting interview audition, but it was super fun, and I loved that it was so different. Anyway, so I got hired, and I worked there for 17 years. And I got hired. I played music every day for kids, anywhere from 50 to 300 students, ages 4th grade to 12th grade, and also with the educators. So we would do educator programs to inspire the teachers and staff to kind of rekindle their spirit for teaching and being there for the kids. And Youth Frontiers is a nonprofit that's dedicated to the climate, like changing the climate in schools, or encouraging character and integrity among the students and the staff in schools. A good way to explain kind of like each retreat is catered to the age group. Like there's kindness, courage, respect, wisdom, and then the honor and purpose retreat are for the teachers. And each one of them just basically tell you that you matter, others matter, and more importantly, what you do matters. So do you just stand by, or do you say something? Do you stand by, or do you walk over to the person who's hurting and just stand with them? So it's a very big character building program for schools. And I got to play my music based off of character. Every day for the students.
Do they take place during the school day as a presentation,
Yeah,
or
it's
is
a
this
whole day.
it's a whole thing?
It's a whole program. So it's like a field trip. Sometimes they would have it in school in their gym. Sometimes they would have it at an outside source or an outside location in their gym or their open space. There's lots of high energy games that we do in the morning. We had small groups. We have large group talks where like one of us would give a talk about maybe when we were bullied at one point and how that made us feel and how it made us feel that nobody was there for us. That's usually kind of like the first talk. And then there's a lunch period and more small groups, and then there's another big large game or sing along or something, and then there's another talk that usually talks about how someone was getting made fun of or bullied or was feeling terrible about themselves, and somebody else stepped in, and how powerful it was for them to see that this happened in real life, and how it inspired them to want to do that, and how they hope that it now inspires all the students to do that. The goal is to get them to the end of the day where we put them in a circle and we put a microphone in the middle of the circle and we say, we'd love to hear what you've learned today, what your act of courage is going to be, or what knowledge you might have gained around this value of respect and how you're going to bring that into your school and help encourage more respect in school. And earlier you were talking to me about the song with the earring.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my very first song that I wrote on my loop station, my boss. And I wrote it for the Respect Retreat. It's called Alive. And I remember, just experimenting with doing beats on the guitar and then doing like little things and having it loop. And I didn't realize that I had turned on this microphone that's inside of my guitar. And I went to bend down to like do something on the loop, and it caught my earring. That was something like this, dangly. And all of a sudden it was like, hush, hush, hush. I was like, what? And then I was like, that picked it up so clear. So then I like hit to record, and I was like, hello. And then you could hear my voice really clear. So I was able to like loop. I think in that song when it was at the end, I looped over 25 voices to build it up before I would stop it and then hit this like kind of run or whatever to end the song. And you could understand clearly every single word that was being said. And I had no idea that the guitar that I bought had a microphone in it like that. So it was like so cool. And then speaking of carnage, that's Terrell. Him and I did a show together with Desdemona, or maybe it was just him, I can't remember, but he saw me do that song, and he was like, this is going to change my whole game, like being able to do a loop. He's like, I don't know if he had bought one at that time or he was thinking about it, but he just never understood it. And I think we might have done like a FaceTime call, or maybe I went over to his place for a second and just kind of walked him through all the different things. And then like he just ran with it. I mean, he is a monster on that loop pedal. Same thing with Heatbox. I don't know if you know who that is. Mm-hmm. But I used to do a show with Heatbox, and both of us got a loop station at the same time. And we both were using it. We had like an every Tuesday night gig. We were both using it, and he's a beatboxer, and now he's got a 12 pedal. It's just, and I'm still with my old one that's missing buttons, and I'm like, this is fine. This is great. So
this was all happening in real time, live, when your ear got stuck on the guitar, and
yeah.
That's that's so fortuitous. And I was telling Terrell earlier this week, because we were doing one of these, I was saying, like, for anyone out there who has not experimented with a loop station or a loop pedal live, it's very like maybe not as exposed as singing, but if you make a mistake, it hits you in the rear end every single time, and your audience hears it. So
with that song, I no matter how much I got it down, there were still times where something would maybe I was in a really hot room, especially during like the school performance stuff, and there's just no keeping your guitar in tune. So like even though I would tune it right before I start, by the time I'd get to the last thing that I'm looping, it's like kind of like a quarter off, and you're like, and at that point too, like I could take some of them away, but if I had two things that I was looping at the same time, then I'd have to take both of them away. So it's just, you just kind of go with it.
Was this one of those Boss loop
Yeah,
stations with the red
yeah. The two
paint? Yeah.
pedal, the really old one. I think it's
Yeah.
got to be over 15 years old. I think.
It almost seems like with those things, it's more important that you really know how to use that piece of equipment than you have the latest one. It's,
Yeah, yeah,
especially
yeah.
live.
And I like the two pedal. It's actually a lot easier as long as you can get your first beat that you put on there, your first whatever it is to be really good and in time. The rest of it will all fall in. It's just getting the first recording part down live, so that it's always a good beat, and then you're fine.
Are there any other projects, Deborah, that you're working on right now in the midst of everything that's going on and teaching? Any other
Well,
musical projects or songs that you have floating out there in the world?
I just finished my website, which I'm really excited about, and my biggest thing that I want to do is I really want to start to put up like YouTube tutorial videos of like how to breathe. Like every time I'm in a lesson with students, whatever age they are, I'm always like I need and want to find a really good breathing video that's not like 45 minutes of talking and 30 seconds of work. And so I feel like that's my new project. When I move, I'm gonna start making some videos like that, and also videos of how to explain how to manipulate your vowels so that when you sing, your pitch might sound like it's a little bit under, but it's probably just because you're singing like this, so it's making it sound duller. But if you use like your cheekbones and you can even hear it in the way I'm talking. If I talk like this and I just keep my voice here, it sounds like it's on the duller side of the pitch. But the moment I go like this, it makes it much more brighter. You can understand. It makes it crisper. So it's like I want to do a whole thing of tutorial videos that are simple, maybe 45 seconds long, that just give you something to focus on and work on when you're singing or sitting in your car or whatever, It's not just like talk. I'm talking at you, because all of them are just talking at you the whole time. Like, I don't want to do that. Keep it simple and give them tools right away.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't have to sit through 10 minutes of talking before they get to the first tool. Nobody wants to do that. Yeah.
That would be wonderful, because I feel like so many other instrumentalists, besides vocalists, would benefit from that. From really anybody would benefit from more mindful breathing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like the biggest thing that I find with breathing is like nobody's is talking about the 3 levels, and like the first level is what 99% of humans breathe like. They breathe from here. It's like all shallow breath. That's just how like our bodies are. But then you have to train yourself to like breathe where it expands all the way. But then there's the third way where you can really expand and pull down and fill up your whole stomach almost with air. And that's how you can get the power and the high notes without putting any pressure. It's just so many things that I'm just like, nobody talks about this stuff. Or if you do, it's so confusing. So I just want to really make it more simple and give them tools to practice with. That's what I feel like is lacking in the vocal YouTube tutorial department.
Oh my goodness! Oh, you would have so much to share, and we'll be curious to follow that and see where it goes. And Deborah, where can people best find your music and your teaching and everything online?
You can go to debragmusic.com is my website. Anything Debra and then G Music as one word, or just all of that as one word, you can find that on YouTube. Debra G on iTunes. I'm on Spotify. Copacetic is the band that I was in. That one has some really great music. That album is amazing.
One last question, Deborah, if you got time. What's the first thing that the thing that you're most looking forward to, after we get through this pandemic?
I haven't done a live show in a long time. I mean, the last one I think I did was the Janis Joplin show at First Ave in January, which is what I do every year. But I think that it would be maybe finding either a guitar or a keyboardist, because I just want to focus on singing when I do, and putting together like a fun 2-hour set. And because I'm going to be living close to the beach, setting up a show off the water, at like a restaurant or something, and And I would love to do like a jazz blues set, something real chill, something real like just maybe even add some islandy kind of vibes in there. But um, I would love to, yeah, to do a show off the water.
That
Yeah,
sounds like just the prescription we all need right now.
right. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to chat. This was super fun.
Thank you,
And
Ben. You're the best.
yeah.